the age of 75 and still enjoying one of the longest and most successful careers in music history. Sir Paul McCartney thinks he is a lucky man. He did not even think he'd still be in demand in the 1970s, let alone when he was in his 70s. It's something that's a surprise really, because we didn't realize it was going to last this long. I mean, Sgt Peppers is 50 years old this year. We had no idea it was going to last more than 10 years. Quote, Sir Paul was speaking in Perth, the location for the start of his first Australian tour in decades. The Regal Theatre was the venue for a rare question-and-answer session for a small group of fans. Sir Paul was asked by Meg from the Perth suburb of Waroona what kept his energy and passion alive. He started with a joke, before explaining that his real addictions were songwriting and performing, sex and drugs. No, you know what? It's just 'cause I love it. I've always loved it since I was about 14 when I wrote my first song. And it's a kind of magical thing, because when you write a song you've got nothing and you suddenly produce like a rabbit from a hat, and it feels really good, he said. And you get a bit addicted to that feeling. And then you perform it with an audience and you get addicted to that too. Quote, Sir Paul was asked by Izzy from Greenwood what it was like to arrive in Adelaide in 1964, when the Beatles were met by what some claim was the biggest crowd in the world. It was amazing for us, you know, 'cause the welcome was phenomenal. I mean, we'd had welcomes in Europe and all over the place, but this was like mega. You know, it was like we were royalty arriving. We'd seen the streets filled like when we went to Liverpool. That was pretty full, but this was like the fullest. Quote, Harrison Haynes, aged 9, was named after the Beatles guitarist and was dressed in full Sgt Peppers uniform, like his father Matt. He wanted Sir Paul to give him nothing less than advice on how to change the world. I don't know what those will be in your case, but you seem like the kind of boy who's going to do it. Just learn what's good in the world and go in search of it. Quote, other questions, had Sir Paul, reminiscing about the wide range of people he finds in his audiences. I've seen some lovely things at shows. Remember one in Brazil. A dad, a tall guy with a beard, and he's got this beautiful young girl with him and she's looking up at him and I'm doing Let It Be and he's looking down, and it was a real sort of beautiful family moment. And it was a choker because I've got to sing this thing and not cry. Quote, how had touring changed then? Since those frantic, frenetic days of the 1960s, when Beatlemania was at its peak, when we were touring the Beatles, it was all new. No one had seen these kinds of crazy scenes with rock and roll. Really, there'd been a few, but our thing was like really crazy. It got a bit much because in the end we couldn't hear what we were doing. And that's one of the big differences now. We can go louder than the audience now, so that gives us a bit of an edge. I'm older. The audience is older. You've got dads and sons, dads and daughters. You got all people of different ages in the family, and that's very different. It really was pretty much just screaming girls. Only in France, when we went there, it was screaming boys. And we were freaked out.